A family on a mission to save their dream mountain home. Will the house and crew survive a dangerous drive along the banks of a raging river?
I don't know if there's anything stopping it from going out the other side.
Through tight, tree-lined trails.
Back up 2 more feet.
And across soft fields.
Clear that big branch. That didn't sound good.
This river rescue is nothing short of one massive move. The Northern Cascades of Washington, a wild frontier of mountains and rivers. An idyllic place that Gary and Vicki Anderson love visiting with their family.
The Skagit River, it's one of the legendary steelhead streams, so I particularly like the location for spring steelhead fishing. Spending the holidays, especially Christmas, Thanksgiving holidays in the wintertime up in the snow along the river, it was beautiful.
You could go up there and the world would just stop for a while, and you'd have a roaring fire and grandkids running around and playing, and just lots of laughter and just lots of good family time.
In 1995, Gary and Vicki designed and built their Dream River Getaway here, a 3-story wood cabin worth $500,000.
Vicki drew the plans for the cabin, and now it stands as kind of a family dream.
We have an enormous fireplace and beautiful, intricate beams. There's just a lot of character in the house. We have a portrait of Gary that one of his friends painted. For me, it's very personal. It's very much my husband.
But today, their dream home is in imminent danger.
About 1.5 years after the cabin was built, the Skagit River changed course, which caused the bank on our side to begin eroding. And now it's dangerously close to falling in the river.
Over 60 feet of riverbank have already been swept away.
We always dreamed that it would stop. We always hoped, prayed that it would stop, but it never did.
The only way to save their prized cabin is to move it to a new site further inland.
The 3.5 acres it's moving to is a gorgeous piece of property with wonderful view of Sauk Mountain.
Buying the new plot will set Gary and Vicki back $80,000. Moving the cabin, $70,000. Building foundations and restoring the house, $100,000. Bringing the grand total to $250,000. A lot to risk on a dangerous move.
Even though it doesn't necessarily make sense financially, we knew we had to move it. It wasn't really a matter of money.
Gary and Vicki's house needs to travel over a mile down a tortuously narrow road to reach the new site. This river rescue is a tough task, perfect for West Coast house truckers Del Davis and Jeff Monroe.
My first impressions, this is a beautiful place. I mean, it'd be a shame for a place like this not to be rescued.
The crew check out the route. They're worried the house may be too wide to fit.
That pole's got to go.
Because we don't have any room. We're down to mere inches. Height, width, length, everything. We only got like 20 feet of road, if that, and we're 40 feet wide.
While the team get to work, Gary and Vicki take a final tour of their beloved home.
Hard to imagine that you can move such a big structure without something going wrong.
The cabin has kind of a soul. I mean, we love the cabin, but we know the cabin kind of loves us too. We're doing the right thing, and I know the cabin appreciates it.
The cabin might not appreciate this so much, Gary. They quickly rip off the balcony to reduce the width of the house. But just as they slide support beams underneath the cabin, Del spots something that could bring this move to a halt. The beams will create a strong level platform underneath the house. This will support the walls and chimney as jacks prise the 60-ton cabin off its foundations. But there's a problem. Strong winds are frequent in this region. So to stop the house flying away, many hurricane straps pin the walls to the ground. These are hard to spot, And if they leave any in place while they lift the house, the results could be catastrophic. Del and his team have to double check that all the pins are cut, so the house can break free from its footings.
It's kind of ironic that we're in the moving business to pick homes up, and we've got the big battle of fighting these guys that are tying them down.
There are more hurricane straps than they thought. Freeing this house is going to be one hell of a job.
So there's going to be a good dozen of them in here.
They have to smash away the top of the walls to expose the pins.
If we miss one of those tie-down straps, there could be substantial damage caused to the structure. And we can pull some lumber apart that would cause some damage.
The cabin is so heavy, it takes 8 heavy-duty jacks to prise it free from its foundation. The team did a good job cutting the hurricane straps, and the cabin rises smoothly. Now Del faces an even bigger challenge. Roll the house away from the crumbling cliff edge.
Here it comes.
Coming up, can Del's crew haul the cabin away from the brink of disaster?
It's got to go someplace now. I just hope it goes this way and not that way.
In the mountains of Washington, a daring rescue mission is underway to save Gary and Vicky's dream home.
Here it comes.
Their cabin has been jacked up, but now it needs to be pushed up a steep slope. The house sits much lower than the road and must climb a steep hill to reach it. If they try towing the house up the slope on wheels, the extra weight at the back of the house could be too much. So Del has another idea. Jack the house up 6 feet so it's the same level as the road, then slide it to the street on steel beams. This won't be easy. It's high off the ground and a long way to the road. But once there, they can start the journey through the thick forest.
We do have a pretty gnarly slope there we're contending with. If we get tipping too far over on that heavy side, then our center of gravity goes extremely high, and we're right there at a balance point, which gets rather dangerous.
The team raise the house and position slide beams underneath. If they're not perfectly level, the house could topple.
All right. Where do we need to be? You want me to fine-tune anything?
No, we're good.
Now we're gonna put them in.
They roll skates under the house. This is going to be the world's biggest slip and slide.
Your guides should be all set.
Homeowners Gary and Vicky come to watch. They're nervous.
I don't know what to think. It's up in the air. It's got to go someplace now. I just hope it goes this way and not that way. Obviously, if it's level, it should roll the way they want it to go, but I don't know that there's anything stopping it from going out the other side.
With the beams and skates in place, they're ready to go.
We'll grab it with the machine and we'll roll it off here.
With the house safely set up to roll, Del hands the start button to Vicky. She's going to get the honor of pressing go on her own rescue roll.
Okay, I'm gonna do it on 3. 1, 2,
Oh, go ahead.
3.
You're all right, dear. Here it comes. It's coming right at you, Vicky.
The cabin slowly inches away from the river.
Look at that sucker!
That was unbelievable. I just can't believe what I just saw. That was nuts. Actually, I would have been much happier if Del would have done it himself instead of having to rely on a woman to move the house. But I totally understand that.
This was safe. Everything worked good. And the homeowner got to play with the toys.
The crew hook up the wheels. Tomorrow they face their biggest challenge, the road trip. The next morning in the Cascade Mountains, it's the calm before the storm of the big move day. The team make their final checks and hook the cabin to 2 tow trucks. A remote control helps Jeff steer the wheels under the house. But a major obstacle stops them in their tracks.
We gotta get around that power pole up the hill.
The house might be ready to roll, but the road is blocked by a power pole. If the cabin hits it as they try to squeeze past, the load could slip. To get around the pole, the team has to drag the cabin across a field. To make such a tight turn, the truck must go ahead of the house and winch it in stages. Every few feet, Jeff will have to turn around the wheels underneath the house. A slow and laborious operation.
There it goes.
Yikes. Oh my gosh. I guess I feel more emotional than I thought.
It's moving the right direction, away from the river, not in the river.
As the cabin inches onto the field, the wheels sink into a bed of shrubs.
We'll have to survey the damage, see if we have something we need to fix, or if we're going to be buying some new trees.
Saving these trees is the least of their worries.
It's a pretty harsh turn to do. We've got to actually loop around at 180 degree, thereabouts, and be back in line for the main road.
Halfway around the pole, an electrical wire stops progress.
Watch the bite on that wire. Power company's coming back in. They're going to take this bottom neutral wire out of it.
They swiftly remove the wire and roll the cabin out of the field.
Looking good. They cleared the telephone pole. They had probably 2 feet.
One dangerous dodge down. But now the crew face an even trickier test. Squeeze this colossal cabin down a tight tree-lined trail. Coming up, can the team keep the move on track and save the house from a nasty log jam?
Clear that big branch. That didn't sound good.
In Washington, Gary and Vicky's dream mountain home only just made it past the telephone pole.
It's looking good. They cleared the telephone pole.
Now the 40-foot wide cabin faces an even tougher challenge. A tight tree-lined trek on a 20-foot wide road. They have to cut the trees back as far as possible. But weaving the house through the branches will take time. There's a risk that at such slow speeds, the truck could stall, jolting the house, sending it on a collision course. So the team will have to send the truck ahead and run a winch line back to the cabin. Pulling the house like this will give them the control they need to steer it through the branches with pinpoint accuracy.
We're down to 1/2 and 1/4 inch areas between great big massive tree limbs here to fit through and not do any damage to our metal roof that we have here.
It's tighter than they thought. One wrong move could rip the roof to shreds.
When I see it sandwiched between these huge trees and it's got an inch to spare, all of a sudden it looks enormous.
Come to you, John?
There's guys hollering and yelling back and forth to each other, trying to steal an inch or two here and there from each other. Man, you should see the other side. You're past the breaking point now. There's nothing you can go. Just go. Everything's going in the right direction for us.
But in house moving, things never quite go to plan.
Oh!
Clear that big branch. That didn't sound good.
The tall house is hemmed in by low-hanging branches. The roof could be torn apart if they keep going.
How are you going to reach it? It's up there. Oh, that's an ugly one.
It's not going to fit.
It
It's too
doesn't
big.
look like it's going to fit.
I said it looks like a great big square peg trying to go through a round hole.
There's no way forward. Del has no choice but to go back the way he came.
We don't like to back up. It's opposite direction of where we want to go, but sometimes you got to do it to get out of the sticklers that you get into.
Backing up a 60-ton house down a narrow lane is their worst nightmare. The crew gingerly kick her into reverse.
Come on. Back me up 2 more feet.
Do it. Just do it.
The house lurches forward again. This will be the moment of truth.
You're right there. You got daylight on it. Now.
It's not going to be fast enough. Lean it over.
It's a little bit snug. But if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Rubbed both sides, back and front. Just enough.
With the trees behind them, the team must pick up the pace.
It's 1/10 of a mile to the intersection at the road that we're going, and it's the longest 10th I've done in a while.
They reach the main road, but there's still a long way to go.
We're done winching. We're going to hook the pull truck on to go up the street. Should be there in an hour and a half.
Del takes charge of driving this precious load. It's a tough job keeping the heavy house on track.
These guys are yelling at me. They said I'm drifting around, which I don't usually do too much.
Well, he's weaving all over the road. We're trying to keep him straight, and yeah. Just got to keep paying attention to it hitting us. Is that going to clear? Take me up 2 inches. Up, Chad, up. That's enough.
But these forest-lined roads are about to look like a walk in the park.
I asked Del if that was the hard part, because I couldn't imagine it being any harder than that. And he said that was just the warm-up, that the hard part's still to come.
Coming up, can the team slide the house down a slippery slope to complete this river rescue?
Keep her going. Doesn't give it a second chance to think about getting stuck.
Gary and Vicky's luxury cabin has survived a treacherous trek through tree-lined trails.
It's not going to fit.
It
It's too
doesn't
big.
look like it's going to fit.
But the team face sandy soil and a steep slope before their work is done. Winch trucks drag the house across the field. To reach the basement hole, Del must drive the 60-ton house down a steep, sandy ramp. But this won't be easy. If he drives too fast, the weight of the house behind the truck can cause it to slip and jackknife. For more control, the team will bring in a second truck. This will hold the house steady, preventing it from slipping forward as they descend the slope. As long as the ramp doesn't fall apart, the house should arrive in one piece.
Yeah, anytime you're ready. Easy, easy. Bring it around.
Suddenly, the wheels start sinking into the dirt.
You got it. Hold up. Oh! Oh!
Well, the ground is extremely soft up in this rampway. It's like opening a bag of flour up and trying to drive in over 2-3 feet deep of it. It's pretty powdery stuff, so.
They need to act fast to stop the 60-ton cabin sinking any further.
There we go. Sweet.
The cabin finally reaches the drop zone, where it will wait until the basement is built underneath. It's been an emotional journey for Vicky and Gary.
It was surprisingly emotional.
I knew I would feel a sense of relief, but I don't think I realized how much it meant to me to save the cabin.
Right now is the first time in over 2 years that it's been out of harm's way.
Oh yeah, that looks like it's perfect there.
I would say that today was
Pressure's off.
right up there with one of my life's most memorable moments. I almost feel the love coming back from the cabin again. It's like I can feel the appreciation.
Cabin knows it's been saved, and it's very happy with us today.
Thanks to the move team, this cabin has been saved from the raging river and finally stands high and dry as Gary and Vicky's dream family getaway.
I love the river, and I can still love the river. I just don't need to love it running through my house. All that's really left is to lower the cabin on the foundation, hook up the electricity and the plumbing, and it will be pretty much done.
Sort of fun now that the house is moved to be able to look around and get to know the land.
Want a blackberry?
Cheers.
2 months after their luxury cabin arrives, Gary and Vicky can finally enjoy their home's new lease of life in safety.
We're anxious to get back in there and
Enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Not worry about it.
know that the cabin is on safe ground forevermore.